Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. This is episode seven, I
Seven.
think. Seven, yeah. Counting's hard this early in the morning. We're doing an early recording session because Abram's ending up school. He's got finishing up stuff. He's got a lot of stuff to do. So we decided might as well get out of the way. But we've got a lot of games to talk about. We were sort of mini prepping this last night, and we realized that we have a lot of shit to talk about. So let's just get right into it. We actually have a special segment today that was pre-recorded, which you will see at some point in the video whenever we
Yes.
decide to insert that in. Um, but Abram, where do you want to start this week? What games have you been playing, my dear friend?
Should we start with the special one? Would you like that reveal right now?
Yeah. So over
Okay.
over to me. Okay, so this is our special segment that we're recording for this week's episode of BLB. It is currently 12:10 a.m. for me, meaning 1:10 a.m. for one Abram Buhner over in the great land of Maine. I got out of bed for this. I was drifting off to sleep to a podcast. I don't know what game he's talking about. Let's just fucking talk about it.
Let me provide some context for the audience. I texted Tucker 1:02 a.m. I just completed a video game. I am covered head to toe in sweat. I beat it in one sitting. I said absolutely awful words in the process. You will never guess what game this is. BLB is going to be nuts. This is now one of my favorite games on the system. It's an NES game. That's all I'll say.
Okay, well now say more,
Would you,
please,
would
God.
would you like to take a preliminary guess, or would you like me to jump right into it?
It's probably something fucking dumb, so just say it.
Beginning at 11 o'clock this evening,
Okay.
ending at 1 o'clock, I began and finished Ninja Gaiden,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
the the Tecmo fucking enigma from the 80s. Now this is an infamous game.
My body does
This
not know
isn't
what's going on right now. I'm shuddering involuntarily because I got out of bed and it's a little bit colder outside of my bed than it is. I'm just going wild right now. But I have
I'm
absolutely fuck all to say about Ninja Gaiden. Let me tell you.
I am feeling so alive right now. Let me tell you something. I was tired, I was sleepy, I was in bed watching Video Game Donkey, and I thought to myself, what does Video Game Donkey reference often? Ninja Gaiden. So I reached over, I closed Age of Calamity on my Switch, I went onto the NES Online, and I played in one sitting all six acts of Ninja Gaiden. Now, Ninja Gaiden is a notoriously fucking infuriatingly difficult game.
Hmm.
And it is. This is easily. People who say that games are the Dark Souls of X are a bunch of fucking losers when they should be saying that Dark Souls is the Ninja Gaiden of action RPGs,
Uh-huh.
because Ninja Gaiden is so ungodly difficult that if I didn't have the rewind button, there is not a chance in my fucking mortal existence that I would ever be able to beat this game. The problem with Ninja Gaiden and my biggest knock against it is that it is difficult because it is fucking infuriatingly designed. Enemies respawn infinitely. There's many points where you need to jump onto a platform big enough for one man, and there's going to be a man fucking throwing axes or literal crosses. There's a guy that looks like Piccolo who throws crosses at you. Ninja Gaiden is unfairly difficult. But if you play in a way that you can circumvent that difficulty, Ninja Gaiden is one of the most ambitious and exciting games I have ever played in my entire life. Ninja Gaiden has anime cutscenes in an NES game. It has a full story that unfolds over six acts, including the CIA, your father coming back to life and being possessed by demons, a love interest. There are so many moving pieces in this game. It is absolutely incredible. This is not an NES game. This is a game from fucking 2020 that was sucked back into the late 80s and shoved into this cartridge. It's got localization issues, it's got problems, but it literally feels like you're watching an anime, the way these cutscenes play out, the way the story unfolds. And then the gameplay, when you can fucking excise all of the nonsense out of it, there is a ninja gameplay here that feels unrivaled. it's a little bit weird. He's got some weird stickiness to him with the way he sticks onto walls and such. I had to give him a stern talking to at one point. I was saying awful things to myself in my bed playing Ninja Gaiden. But when you get in the groove, it's so empowering. I think that on a pound for pound level, more exciting than a Mega Man, more exciting than a Mario. Both much better designed games, but the highs and the ambition of fucking Ninja Gaiden just wiped those off the map for me. And the music is so powerful. And playing this on Switch, that pixel art cleans up so nicely. This is one of the most gorgeous games I've ever seen. The way that all of these disparate elements collide is such a kinetic and fucking devilishly interesting 2 hours of gameplay. It would be much longer if you didn't get to rewind every time a fucking dove came out of off screen and swooped through Ryu's entire fucking body and killed him. Because a rocket launcher from an RPG will do 1 hit point of damage, a fucking literal dove will do 3 points. It doesn't make any sense. This game is an amalgamation of contradictions, but it was an early example of what our medium could be. It's an anime ninja adventure. It's a high octane 2D side scrolling action platformer. It's a fucking audio visual treat. It is one of my favorite games I've played in 2020, probably one of my favorite games I've played of all time. This is going high on the list. This is not one to miss. If you need to rewind after every jump, fucking do it. Play Ninja Gaiden, and I cannot wait to play the other Ninja Gaiden games. I need to fucking track them down now. This is a series that is very important to select people and very important to the industry as a whole, but that prohibitive difficulty has made it so people don't converse about this game the way they should. Ninja Gaiden is exemplary. It's exemplary. I'm over the moon with Ninja Gaiden. It's my
Now
piece.
see, it's what there are 2 other games on the NES. It's a trilogy, I believe.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
there's no fucking way you place those in an original cartridge and actually finish them, right?
I just
Are
know
are
I've ne-
are they available digitally in other places that have that rewind functionality? Because I believe that there's a hardcore chance that your fucking um, opinion on the series takes a goddamn nosedive if you have to play these games without a rewind functionality.
Well, if they're on the Wii U Virtual Console and I can just use regular fucking save states, that's fine.
Okay.
Or if not, I'll sit back like a pretty little baby boy that I am and wait for them to come to Switch Online like I waited for DKC 2.
Reasonable.
And I bet it will happen because this is just such an interesting game. You should play it. Actually, I don't know if you like it because it's fucking infuriatingly difficult. But but its presentation is just so captivating. You start the game and it throws you right into gameplay, and then Act 1 ends, and this shadowy woman steps out into this fucking fully animated cutscene and shoots you with a tranquilizer gun. And you fucking wake up, you've got a demon statue. She like run, there's people behind you. The fucking CIA gets involved, they come and stick you up. You get fucking sent to it looks like fucking Castlevaniaville, and you're fighting demons, you're fighting fucking the army, everything is going down. Just beautiful music, beautiful visuals, incredibly fluid motion and movement. And the fucking final boss, I couldn't do any damage to it. I was losing my mind, so I checked YouTube. The people can pirouette through this game. Watching people who are good at Ninja Gaiden play Ninja Gaiden makes me want to be good at Ninja Gaiden.
But you probably never will be.
Probably not, but
No.
I will play the other games in the series.
Mhm.
I will check out the 3D Ninja Gaiden games, but there's something so special about the fact that this is an NES title
Sure.
and everything that it accomplishes on this hardware. This is just fucking in a completely different cornfield than the other games on the system. With what
Mhm.
it does, with what it accomplishes, and what it evokes. It's an evocative experience. It's a magical experience. It's one that I can just picture being a fucking little kid in the 80s and playing that. How mind-blowing that would be, especially considering fucking 80s kids were used to all of this nonsense anyway, right? So they just fucking brute force their way through in a way I would never be able to comprehend. But having that kind of experience, people point to Mario Brothers, and they point to Mega Man, they point to these staple
It's rude to
these
point.
staple fucking 2D platformers, but this is something different and this is something special. I
Congratulations.
really love Ninja Gaiden.
I'm happy for you, buddy. I have nothing else to add. I've never heard Donkey reference this game. When does he reference this game? That's the thing I'm most confused. I've been honestly tuned out for a majority of what you fucking said. My mind was stuck on the fact that you say Donkey references Ninja Gaiden constantly. I can't remember off the top of my head a Donkey video where he references the game.
He uses a couple seconds of footage in one of his videos I was watching today. So it's like I should play Ninja Gaiden.
Okay. All right.
Well, everybody, I am just full of energy. It's now 1:20 in the morning. I could say more about Ninja Gaiden. I probably will when we record the full episode and I've had a little bit more time to gestate on it. But these are my initial hot thoughts. This is a special game. Fucking play this game. I gotta sleep. I got things I have to do tomorrow, to be honest with you. But I'd sit here and talk to the fucking sun rose again as it does in the east or the west. I don't remember which one. And talk with you about Ninja Gaiden until it occurred because goddamn, this is a special game.
All right. Well, back to the episode. Me. All right. Thanks, me. Welcome back, everyone.
Now I was not referring to Ninja Gaiden, but I'd love to start with Ninja Gaiden.
Oh, there's another special segment. All right, well, we just started with Ninja Gaiden, so
we've already gotten into Ninja Gaiden now.
I do think we have to continue that segment though, because I last night played Ninja Gaiden. Yes. I got 95% of the way through the game. There is 3 layers to the final boss. I got to the second one, which shoots a fuckload of fireballs at you, and I realized this is not fun. This is not a good boss. I do not want to put in the effort to beat this, so I didn't. But other than that, I was having a very good time with that game. I am not as excusatory of the bullshit design philosophy as you are, but I do think it is an absolutely fantastic game that's way fucking ahead of its time.
The final boss is really weird because I think that first phase is infinitely more fucking frustrating.
I figured that out pretty easily. You fucking go up to the wall, you wait for him to go all the way aside, hop over, go on the platform, bam, 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 jump down, there you go.
Those goddamn fucking bees or whatever they were driving me nuts. The second phase is actually not that bad when you realize how you can train the fireballs to just fly to either side of you and run up and hit them.
Sure.
And the third phase is not that bad, but it's a fucking horse's foot of a final boss.
Yeah. It's certainly an interesting spike because I do think the other bosses are a lot more manageable. If they're more pattern recognition, that I was able to find certain places in the stage to hide, get a couple hits in. I actually enjoyed a lot of the boss fights up to that point in the game. But when I hit that second phase, I'm like, I'm just not enjoying this. So I decided to stop.
The final boss is the one that you can cheese the least. That's the one where you actually need to be competent at the game's mechanics.
Yeah.
And which makes it hard if you've been rewinding your way to get there, which I think you have to, because I tweeted about this, and I've been on a tweet roll recently, putting out some really great tweets. I think that Ninja Gaiden is both testament to and rebuttal of the idea that classical games are better than what we have now.
Sure, yeah.
Because I think this game does a lot that's really great, but there were so many intrinsic design factors that held these games back because out of water.
It was a weird noise.
NES games and their design had to be fucking borked to justify the fact that this game is less than 2 hours long and cost
my total playtime of 95% of the entire game was 1 hour and 35 minutes. And on the other hand of you, I think that the rewind completely annihilated, I'd say, 80% of my complaints with the challenge of the game. I'm still recognizing it and using it as a detractor for the overall score and experience. But I was not spewing the profanities that we are assuming that you were. I texted you last night and said that the things that I've been saying can be repeated, which is in opposition to the things that you were saying, which cannot be repeated. That was what I was when I was.
Oh, I had no fucking. You were texting me a bunch of stuff that made clear sense in your head, and I had no idea what was going on. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
and I get that. I don't know. I just found some of the areas where you have a platform the size of a cobbler's shoe. You know,
3 guys sitting on it, fucking bats and birds flying at you, fucking tanks shooting shit from the back. You fucking got a guy who shoots there are sections, and I texted you that something along the lines of there are just sections of this game where the developer said you are not allowed to have fun. You cannot play the game in this circumstance. Certain places where you legitimately have to cause the game to glitch to have someone despawn in order for you to move on. Like it's just it doesn't make sense in some situations, and I do think that obviously is a sign of the time, but it's also just not good game design in those areas. I do think that that's just blatantly unfair in a way that's not like, okay, this is challenging, you have to be good at it, you have to actually fuck with the game in order to get through it, which I think is unfair.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that. You look at Mega Man, you look at fucking fighting the Yellow Devil. The only way to beat him
Sure.
is to pause on pause to glitch your fucking lightning through his head 18 bajillion times.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is just a vestigial structure of the time. But I think what the game just as we were saying in that clip before is it was fucking 1:30 in the morning. I was sweating and I cut off his Zelda shirt. The game just is so ambitious, and I think
Yeah.
it has such a cohesive identity that a lot of its issues just didn't register with me when I have rewind and I can mitigate some of those factors. The
Yeah.
way that the stages evolve, the way that the narrative weaves in, the way that it just fucking feels fun to control Ryu.
Yeah.
I really believe that this is my favorite NES game.
It's certainly not my favorite, but I do actually respect it and enjoy it a lot more than I was expecting to. I just want to enjoy being like, okay, fucking Abrams got another game that for some reason he praises an absolutely ridiculous amount. But this one I do recognize a lot of your points on. And I think that the animated cutscenes and story are leagues ahead of its time. Like
Yes.
I was thinking about that point that you said in the video of it's a 2020 game that was sucked back to the 90s or whenever the fuck this came out. I don't even know. But and you're right. Like there are games today, indie games that are replicating this style that do exactly this, and it was sucked back to the 8-bit era, and it was running on an NES, which is kind of fucking wild. But yeah, I mean, it's way ahead of its time. But I think that's enough about Ninja Gaiden, unless you have any real final points you want to say.
Just the last thing that I have to say is it makes me really excited for Cyber Shadow, which is that basically Ninja Gaiden spiritual successor the Yacht Club is publishing.
Okay.
I'm very excited for that game now. I just missed out on this entire sect of the NES's library, these ultra hard Ninja Gaiden games, and I actually want to check out now not only the NES ones, but the more modern 3D Ninja
Yeah,
Gaiden
I
games,
think you
which I know.
mentioned this in the late night video.
Oh well, that was fucking 1:30 in the morning. But yes, that's basically my thoughts. I was very glad that I played through it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start off with something that's a little bit different. But the main thing that I played this week was Banjo-Kazooie. We would like to do a larger discussion of that at some point in the future, some indiscriminate point, because I think it's a game that warrants a larger discussion. But that is now one of my favorite games of all time. I 100%ed that game in under 3 days. I played 16 hours. Some days I was going 7 hours a day. Like that game just fucking sucked me in a way that a lot of games don't. Absolutely fantastic game, and I would say almost flawless in every regard. But yeah, that certainly is a larger review that I want to go to.
I
Uh,
enjoyed the first world.
yeah, and then your
Oh,
Xbox had a good time.
yeah.
Well, touch on that actually, because we didn't get a chance to talk on that on BLBS.
Here's the packaging that I have yet to throw away for my Xbox Series S, and I'm glad that I haven't because I'm probably going to be putting that bad boy back in this box to
Mm-hmm.
send it to Microsoft support after I call them, hopefully later today. Um, I was playing Banjo-Kazooie with Tucker. We were on Discord. He was like, "Fucking start Banjo." I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna start Banjo." And then I needed to download a Master Chief Collection patch, so I left my Xbox on. Fucking went to sleep for the night. It was a huge patch. Woke up in the morning to turn it back on. Simply wouldn't turn on. Tried everything I could. It will not turn on. I've tried it over the course of a couple more days in case it was just fucking having a
Having an off
tantrum.
day.
Yeah, a literal off day. I don't
Yeah.
know. But nothing is working, so I'm gonna have to send it in, which is super unfortunate because I wanted to start playing Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
Because I was
Look at
watching
this
Donkey
fucking cheese
videos.
ball over here. God damn it.
I was watching Donkey Kingdom Hearts videos. I want to do that, but no, the Xbox is who got. I don't know. It's disappointing. I
Yeah.
don't know when it's gonna get fixed. I'm gonna be gone soon, out of town, so I probably won't even be able to have access to it for a while, most likely.
I think you should probably send it off before you go out of town, though.
Oh, I'm hoping to send it off like tomorrow.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, but it's just I Microsoft's and Xbox support are notoriously pretty good,
Sure.
but with everything happening right now,
Notoriously good is an
yeah,
interesting.
Between fucking COVID and the mail service just deciding what days it wants to function properly,
Uh-huh.
and just a general console shortage across the board, I think it's going to be kind of difficult to get this repaired. But I'm hoping to be wrong. So unfortunately, I can't join you on that Banjo trip right now, unless I just buy an N64 cartridge, which I'd rather not do. I do have
Yeah.
Banjo-Tooie on cart. I
Interesting.
do have Banjo-Tooie.
I'll be playing that when I get back next semester after my winter break, which I will not have access to the Xbox.
Yeah.
But the next game that I played that was not Banjo because it's a little bit different. It's called Hades, which is a
Oh,
game
fuck.
that came out
Okay.
this year that people are absolutely fucking loving. I am not a roguelike person. I am not a dungeon crawler person, but this game has a fucking load of merits that I definitely respect, and I want to put in the time, a little more time. I can't. I'm not bringing my PC with me, so I'm not going to be able to put in that much time. But I want to put in a little more time in it just to see if it hooks me because there's a chance that it grabs me. I'm really into the aesthetic. I think the story has a ton of potential if I get into it a little more. And it's possible that the gameplay loop and combat mechanics and all of that will grab me at some point. But I really do have to give it that old college try. It I think it deserves a lot of the merit it's gotten. It's hard for me to compare and contrast to other games of the genre because I've not played the vast fucking majority of them. I've dabbled in Binding of Isaac. I've played a little bit of Spelunky, but even then, those games I don't think
Sure.
hold the candle to what this game has in terms of scope, in terms of depth. So it's pretty fucking crazy. I know you haven't tried it at all, so you probably don't have too much to say, but yeah, Hades is getting the praise. I'm surprised to see it grab as many people as that because that game fucking took over the lives of a lot of people that I follow on
Yeah.
Twitter for a while, and I think it's still floating around there. It'll probably get that reboost when it's rightfully received some awards at the Game Awards this upcoming year.
Yeah, I would like to play it. I almost bought it on the eShop sale because I had some credit banked
Is it
up.
on
I ended
sale?
up, yeah, it's on sale for $20 right now, so it's not an especially deep sale, but it's a little bit off. I ended up buying something else that we'll talk about that I'm
Yeah,
excited to talk to you about. But I would like to give Hades a chance. It's just a thing of roguelikes are not necessarily my genre.
yeah,
Supergiant makes great games. I've never particularly connected with one, although I did like Transistor to an extent. It's just one of those games that right now I'm admiring from a distance and really letting everyone else enjoy. But I am gonna hop in at some point to see what
yeah.
it's about. Um, what I might do actually is pick it up before I leave and play it on the plane
Okay, yeah,
because that seems like a great
good
plane
idea.
game. So just so I can have some context before the Game Awards happen.
Yeah, I do think it's a game that I honestly wish I'd gotten on my Switch. I got it on PC because I was able to cheese the fucking price down on Epic Game Store to
Yeah,
practically fucking nothing, which is worth it. I'm not saying that, but I do think it's a game that works a lot better in those short bursts with the access to handheld to pop it out, play a run, mess around with your hub world, put some points into things, like test and things,
yeah,
talk to some characters. I honestly, I'd probably be having a better experience with that. I'm having a long road trip coming up, so I think that would be a game that would have worked perfectly on there. But I don't want to purchase it again. That's not worth the
yeah,
investment,
sure.
especially considering I've actually bought a couple other games this past week, which one of which I'm going to talk about a little bit soon, but not now. Let's move on
Okay.
to the thing.
Do you want to get into the thing?
The thing is a thing that you texted me yesterday. You said I got a game on the sale. You're going to be very pleased with it. And
Yeah,
then later you said this game stresses me out. I'm going to go play Edge of Calamity.
yeah.
Now, I did a little bit of research. I was digging around Nintendo
Hmm.
eShop. Well, actually, I was digging around on the Nintendo website where I was looking at their sale because I didn't have access to my Switch at that moment. And I found a few games that I know are some of my favorites that could fall into this category. And currently, my guess is Bioshock. Am I
I
right?
purchased Bioshock Remastered yesterday.
Okay. Yep. I was right on the fucking money.
Yeah. So you have talked to me ad nauseum about how great Bioshock is, and I
So
and
is
I
everyone
hear
else.
so is everyone else. It's mainly you and Colin Moriarty who are the two best games journalists in my opinion.
Damn.
One really birds of a feather, I might say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yes, I have always wanted to play Bioshock. I don't know why I haven't, but I had I buy a couple games on my Switch, believe it or not. So I was looking I was looking through that sale yesterday, because I like to window shop on the eShop,
Mm-hmm.
and I was gonna buy Ruiner, which is a Devolver Digital like Hotline Miami-esque cyberpunk game that I want to play. But I
Mm,
noticed that I had like $15 of credit. And I saw Bioshock Remastered, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna grab this right now. I can get it for free. I don't have to
yeah,
pay anything. I can
reasonable.
just, yeah. So
I was looking at that sale as well. I think it would have behooveth you to get the collection instead because that would have knocked a few dollars off that price and you would have had access to all three experiences. But it's too late for that, and that collection goes on sale for fucking
yeah,
piss and change on the especially on the PS4 eShop or if you want to get it from GameStop or something like that. So it's
yeah,
not hard to get access to.
that's kind of my thought. It goes deeper sales wise on PlayStation, but I figured if I can
Mhm.
get Bioshock 1 right now for nothing, I might as well.
Yeah, reasonable.
Wow, is
Yeah.
this
All
game?
right. Oh god, I'm excited for this. Holy shit. You were right. This certainly pleases me.
Okay,
Right.
I I started up Bioshock and I was immediately engaged by the game.
Mhm.
As soon as like the airplane whatever
Yeah.
crashes disorienting, as soon as you're on your way down to Rapture,
Yep. The fucking that cutscene going through the city, the voiceover.
yeah,
I can quote most of that voiceover. The
yeah,
music from that cutscene is iconic to me. The visuals are fucking fantastic. The neon
yes.
lights, the rapture just fucking the whale swimming by. There's a fucking squid that goes by at one point. You got the fucking kelp waving in the water. That opening cutscene. That whole opening segment with lighthouse and the burning water and the plane
Yeah.
and the fucking there's details in the plane sequence that are fucking that you miss but connect back to the story from later on. Oh,
By the way, looks and runs great on Switch and handheld mode, which
okay,
is how I
great.
was playing last night, just in the dark,
I was
headphones
thinking
on in
about
bed.
that. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was playing and I got to fucking glowy hook hand woman
Hmm.
and she murders that guy and I was immediately horrified. I'm not one that gets like I don't get spooked by games or film or anything, but something about BioShock was really fucking with me last night.
Sure.
So I made it to the medical wing when you're looking for that guy's fucking key card.
Yeah, sure.
And you open up the medical room and there's just a message written in blood on the floor. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go play Age of Calamity,
Okay.
because that first half an hour was so evocative in terms of tension, in terms of atmosphere. Having the splicers saying their weird, ridiculous shit, and the way that the audio with headphones disorients you because you don't know where they're talking to you from
Sure.
is completely incredible.
Okay.
The combat is okay.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get a feel for the plasmid and weapon system. Having to switch between the two is a little bit cumbersome, but I'm sure that I'll get used to that.
Mhm.
Sparking, I'm using the wrench feels better than using the guns, I think, and I'm also fucking paranoid I'm gonna run out of ammo.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to conserve and trying to loot everything. And just
There'll be
enjoy.
ways that that running out of ammo won't become or won't be that big of an issue later on. So
Yeah.
you can, I think, experiment with the combat a little bit more than you're currently allowing yourself.
Because the machine gun feels great.
Mhm.
Hacking that little sentry was really cool.
Yep.
Having my pistol, but it's that fucking plasmid wrench combo that feels really great.
How many plasmas
Um,
do you have at the moment? Do you
just the
remember?
first,
Okay.
just the first.
So there's a bunch that you'll unlock.
And I don't like needles, so there's like this weird like every time he stabs himself to get more of that shit. And then there's just the fact that this world is so fucking interesting. This fusion of like 50s, 60s aesthetic with this just bizarre utopia.
Look at that.
This,
I'm just thinking about Rapture. You see those fucking
yeah.
goosebumps? You see that? God damn it.
This game is really something special. And it was just fucking with me in such an acute way that
Yeah.
games don't usually fuck with me. And I'm like, you know what? I have understood this. I'm gonna take a break. I need to play something a little bit different right now, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hopping back in today. Um,
Sure.
I fully anticipate this breaching like the top tier of games
Sure.
that
Yeah.
exist in the world, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah. No.
So these
Obviously,
are
I agree.
yeah, these are early impressions, but they're glowing impressions.
Yeah, I do think that I'm gonna be vastly interested. I mean, I'm sure you know the twist. And
No.
oh, okay. Well, then never mind. So that's actually even better. I'm surprised that you don't know it, but just Play at your own pace. There are a lot more disturbing and engrossing and emotionally charged and I don't know. Well, I'm just trying to come up with a bunch of buzzwords for this game,
Sure.
which I don't need to at the moment. But that moments that are coming up that I think will re-evoke these feelings you're having. I think once you get a little more adapted to what the game is, you won't have as big of an issue pushing through those moments and being curious of what's coming next. But the story does unfold. There are lots of memorable set pieces and moments and things of that nature. I've been looking for an excuse to go back to it. I might purchase the collection on my PS4. That's the way I currently want to play because I have Bioshock. I have all the Bioshock games on my PC, and Steam offered you the remasters for them when the remasters came out for free if you own the original games. But the remasters are broken on PC.
Okay.
And the visual glitches, audio glitch is terrible. It doesn't fucking work. So I would like to play the remasters, which I haven't. And probably on PlayStation because that's just where I would personally prefer to play them.
Sure. The one comparison I want to draw, which is I want to be careful drawing it, but I felt the way I felt playing some sequences in The Last of Us Part 2,
Sure.
which is incredible praise.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just a certain way that a couple games can get under my skin with this sort of just gut feeling of dread that's being pulled along by this just fascination with what's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So
This makes me very happy. I don't think you fucking know, man.
early signs point to me maybe liking this game a little bit.
Good. I would love you to play the other games in the series. I think all three of them are absolutely fucking fascinating, and having a conversation about the trilogy is an important gaming conversation to have. They all have their merits, so they all have their detractors. I think, I don't know. I'm just glad you're finally fucking getting into this.
Yeah, so I'm excited.
Why don't we take a turn for the opposite? Bioshock, dark, claustrophobic, scary, deep, and disturbing atmosphere, lore, characters. But what about Flower? Let's talk about Flower. A little bit different of a fucking game. Why are you so shocked?
Because it's in my cart right now.
Okay, all right. Do I wait to discuss this? Which is perfectly fine. I just happened to dabble in it last night.
I would like you to wait, and I could not fucking sleep for the life of me last night, and there was a part of me around like 1:30 in the morning today where I was like, you know what, maybe I should just go play Flower right now,
Yeah.
and I
Yes.
didn't.
Damn it. Fuck.
But why don't we save that one for next week?
Okay, sure. Works fine for me.
If you would oblige me that much, because I love Journey, one of my favorite games of all time, but that's my only that game company game I've played.
Okay, yeah.
So I really would like to play Flower and talk about it with you.
All right, put that off. It's no fucking skin off my back. It's no pressure. I played this game for the first time 2 years ago, and I have since replayed it. Honestly, probably more than any other game. I do just a run through in a day every few months. It's one of those games that I just pop into. I have constantly downloaded on each of my PlayStations, and I just pop in and relax. Which doesn't happen to me with almost any other game. I'm not someone who really plays video games. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't particularly get into replaying experiences. Once I've had my experience, I like to reflect on it and maybe go back to it a long time in the future. But Flower completely bypasses that. But I will skip that and instead go to one of the games that I purchased. One of the 4 games that I got, I bought myself Yoshi's Crafted World, Link's Awakening Remake on the Switch, Deus Ex on Steam, the original, so from 2000, and Gravity Rush Remastered on PlayStation 4, which I played the first 25 minutes of, and I don't know what it is, but there's a really bad fucking bug in my version of that game, where when you're trying to control Cat, she fucking oscillates between her running and walking animations. So her fucking hair is flapping in the wind, and you can't like control her properly. I did some research. people say it's the controller, but I've never had problems with any of my DualShock 4s, which this could just be a weird coincidence that it's happening here, and I'm going to try it with my second controller today probably, just to see if that was the issue. But I can't give too much on it outside of that because good lord, that bug was fucking distracting.
I think you're really gonna like the game when you play it. When
I hope so. I fucking hope so. Yeah.
I think it's one of Vita's best games. When I had my Vita, is one of my favorites on the system. I never beat it because just the Vita and I had just a weird connection where I mostly put indie games on it and would hop into some of this. And so I was like, I wish I was playing this somewhere else.
Yeah, sure.
So I
can.
would.
Fun fact.
Now I can. Yeah, I just never got around to picking up the remaster.
Yeah.
I want to probably actually play 2 more so because I played a lot of the first. But I think there's such an engaging movement system here.
I got a taste of that. I completed the first tutorial, and then there are like quote unquote tutorial section where you have to save the kid, and then there's a section right after that where you have to follow a crow, and I was following the crow and walking on the surfaces, and she was doing her fucking jig, and I was like, I can't put up with this right now. Like it's not worth my effort. So I turned it off, and I was doing some research to see if I could fix it somehow. But we'll see in the future. But yeah, no, I am fascinated by it. I didn't know a lot about it. On first glance, the movement system does seem pretty creative, but it's hard for me to tell because of the bug that I'm having, and also because I just did the tutorial, which is so far is turn the camera 90 degrees and press fucking R1, which is not particularly compelling, but I obviously recognize that I haven't gotten into the game yet, so that's not a huge criticism.
It's also a testament to how fucking awesome Japan Studio is at curating interesting experiences. I would like to delve into Japan Studio's library and lineage a little bit more because they're just so important, and I feel like they're often overlooked. That's very cool that you just hopped into that.
Yeah, but more impressions probably next week once I play a little bit more.
I have 2 more games to talk about that I'd like to spend a little bit of time on. I want to talk first about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Oh yeah, you told me to remind you, Abram, you beat Cold War this week.
I did beat Cold War this week. Yes. So this is the second Call of Duty game I've purchased for myself. In my life, this is the second Call of Duty game that could have multiplayer, could not have multiplayer, and I wouldn't know because I bought this game for its campaign. So Cold War is a lot of things, but I think above all, it's the most next gen game I have played on my PS5. I talked about it a little bit when I gave my impressions last time, but the way that it uses haptics and the adaptive triggers to simulate the game's arsenal is fucking next level. It speaks to the ways that I think PS5 in particular is pushing immersion in atypical ways. And it's really great to see Raven Software implement these features so well, because I think a great fear for a lot of people is that this is going to exist within the first party, the way that, same with HD Rumble, it's used by Nintendo and sometimes it'll be used by other people, but usually it's up to that first party to prove the hardware gimmicks. This does a much better job than I think even Astro at putting these features in context, beyond the context being, let's look at what the controller can do. This is a tactical espionage shooter that uses these features to great effect. To the point of it being a shooter, I think it leans a little bit more into the bombast from the older Call of Duty games opposed to Modern Warfare. It's a little bit more grounded and icky elements, which makes that game a little bit more compelling, I think. Cold War does not have those tones of gray that I think made Modern Warfare interesting. What it has in its place, I think, is a really engaging, probably 6 to 8 hour campaign with a fucking enormous split with 2 different endings, a good ending and a bad ending, which are radically different. And for those 8 hours, you have incredibly punchy and interesting gameplay that doesn't only ask you to shoot all the time. There's a mission where you break into Lubyanka building, which is the KGB headquarters, and it's just a really great stealth mission juxtaposed against these larger shootouts. And then there's this really fascinating mission in Vietnam where I'm not going to spoil it, but it ties into the way that the game tries to Christopher Nolan you with its plot. It gets a little bit high concept,
Okay.
both to
Interesting.
its
I hadn't heard about that part.
both I think to its benefit, but it does feel a little bit shoehorned in at the end.
Okay.
But it's certainly an interesting recontextualization of the previous hours. And I think it's just a testament to a the continual punchiness and success of the Call of Duty gameplay, and Raven Software as a team putting together these incredibly interesting set pieces. At one point, you break into a Soviet base, and they have basically set up like an American town to run training drills in, and they're doing a live fire drill, and you start shooting at them, and you fucking confuse all of these guys who thought they were doing a live fire drill, and you end up in this big shootout. There's a lot of interesting set piece moments here that I think
Sure.
make it special, and I just like the narrative. It's not in vogue to have pro America stories in games or
Hmm.
film, which I appreciate. The pro America storyline. I enjoy playing as the CIA and getting in there and fighting for America. I know, fucking excise me from the media conversation. I like pro America storytelling. So a lot about this game really compelled me. I think it could have done what a little bit better in terms of adding another dimension the way that Modern Warfare did, in terms of its shades of gray, in terms of challenging the player a little bit more with like the going dark missions when you're going into a terrorist raid, and you're night visioned up, and there's a woman, is she reaching for an AK or a baby, and you have to make those sorts of decisions. You're not making those decisions in Cold War. But I still think that the game is very, very good. And it's just a testament to the fact that there's a reason that these games are as popular as they are.
Sure.
And mostly it's for the multiplayer, but I think that there's a really overlooked single player campaign here too.
Hmm. I mean, that's great to hear. This is kind of just a continuation of what you were saying with your first impressions, which
Yeah.
means that the game is consistent. That's not a knock against it in any way. I've not played it. My impressions stay the same because I've nothing's changed. But yeah, no, I mean it's great to hear that it held up through the whole experience for you. How long is the campaign?
I'd say 6 to 8 hours to
Okay.
to not doing the side content and not seeing the other ending, which I think are absolutely worth doing.
So you
But
will do them at some point, or
oh,
do you
I
think?
absolutely will, but I wanted to finish the main story to make way for the last game I'm going to talk about this week.
Okay.
But I'm going to circle back to Cold War because that content is really interesting. You actually have to like crack codes to figure out the side missions, and I want to see the other ending firsthand instead of secondhand.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So,
Um, I'm gonna transition this. This is a quick pass by as I work my way through random fucking old games I don't goddamn know what to talk about. We're gonna go to
sure.
something a little bit different from Call of Duty Cold War, which is Clu Clu Land on Nintendo Entertainment System. I don't think those games have ever been put in the same sentence before, which makes me even happier. But
Yeah.
Clu Clu Land is from the era in which Pac-Man was fucking popular, and one of the Nintendo development studios was like, we gotta make one of them. We gotta take some sort of maze game format and put our own spin on it. And what they came up with was the idea of not controlling your character and instead revolving around post, which I think is novel in certain ways, but more frustrating in execution. And the object being to reveal fucking. They look like Zelda rupees. I have no idea what the fuck they
Yeah.
are, but reveal objects in the maze. Um, this game is not very fun. It does not control well. Uh, there's just even in the first maze, there's like a lot of danger. It doesn't give you any time to figure out what the fuck you're supposed to do. I mean, I know what you're supposed to do because I know what Clu Clu Land is, but I can't even imagine getting this fucking game when I was a kid in the 80s, and if I was a kid in the 80s, and booting it up and being like, what the fuck? Because your character moves forward automatically, and there's a well in the center. A fucking portal to a alternate hell or something that kills you if you touch it. So you can't go
Mhm.
in the exact center of the map. So you have to avoid that. And so you can die basically instantly if you don't fucking grab a hold of the already boinked controls. It's a fascinating game because as far as I know, never revisited. It's obviously gotten its re-releases and it's a part of Nintendo's history, but never been a sequel, never been a mini game based on it in any other Nintendo game. Nintendo doesn't talk about it. It's not one of those Nintendo franchises, but it's a fascinating, weird early NES 80s era game that has essentially no place in gaming history, but is fascinating nonetheless. I just randomly booted it up because I was thinking about Ninja Gaiden, so I booted up the NES online, and I was like, my cursor just happened to be over Clu Clu Land. I'm like, fuck it. You know what? Fuck it. Basically, that goes back to when I was playing Donkey Kong Jr. Like, I just enjoyed checking out some of these old games that you can get the gist of in a short
Yeah.
amount of time. But this is one you can get the gist of in fucking 2 seconds because it's not really worth playing any more than that.
Yeah, I've never played it. I'm familiar with it in a cursory sense, but there's just a lot of weird NES software that has kind of faded out into the annals of Nintendo history, like Clu Clu Land. And
Yeah.
I don't really have any intention to play it, to be
No,
honest with you.
that's fine. You'll be okay. You will be okay, let me tell you. I don't think it's going to be appearing on any lists ever.
Sure.
That's it for Google Land. Good segment. Why don't we end with the biggin?
Yes, time for the big one. I am 7 hours into Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. Now,
And I would like to preface this by saying I did not purchase that game. I was
sure.
excited for it, but I decided to postpone the full $60 purchase to acquire myself that suite of other games that I mentioned earlier. So that is replacing my Age of Calamity purchase at the moment. So I will not be picking that game up. No, by no fault of the game, just
Yeah.
other things happen.
Another disclaimer before we begin, if you want to hear my probably review thoughts, I'll be on Chris Penwell's show, the Active Quest podcast. This Friday, I'll have more details on my Twitter. I want to bring some of the backlog boys over and show them some love when I go on there. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I'm about 7 hours in, and Age of Calamity is not a Breath of the Wild game by any stretch of the imagination. This game was a rare stroke of Nintendo's marketing genius, in which they basically sold us a game that is not what you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
It plays lip service to Zelda Breath of the Wild in the most cursory sense. So you have the map of Hyrule, but you don't explore the map of Hyrule. It's basically a bulletin board of people and things that want resources from you, and you click on their icon and give them the resources, and you get something.
Mm-hmm.
And these can range from a new vendor to access to buy materials from, to more hearts, to new combos, but it's incredibly disconnected from the experience
Sure.
because it's just all these fucking little points of interest that pop up. You click on one, it pulls up a sub menu. They say, "Here, fucking give them a Bokoblin fucking nutsack," and now you have a new vendor unlocked. It's incredibly disconnecting.
That's
but
how you attract Beetle, let me tell you. Bokoblin
but it's
nutsack on a stick.
yeah. I wish you could play as Beetle. You might be able to because I got to play as Hestu, which is really cool. We'll get to the positives in a second. But they're trying to sell the idea of this larger Hyrule, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are Koroks, but the fun of the Koroks in Breath of the Wild was that they were a reward for interacting with the game world in fun little ways, whether that's fucking throwing a rock down a well or jumping and diving through some lily pads in some water. It was little things that made you want to engage with the world. Here, it's, there's like this little glowy Korok thing, click Y on it. Here's the Korok, he disappears. You get one seed. It's just for looking around you and seeing one clicking on it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, paying lip service to what Breath of the Wild is. I haven't finished the story, so I'm not going to comment too heavily on it, but from what I know from other people, again, this is lip service at best. And when you're actually playing the game, it does not look particularly great. I think it looks actually better in handheld mode because that smaller screen cleans things up a little bit and recontextualizes your expectations. But playing this on the big TV, it's ridiculous the frame rate it runs at certain points. You'll do certain actions that will literally tank the frame rate to probably 10 frames a second. You play as Daruk, and his running animation is he's in a ball rolling around, and he's got maybe 6 frames of animation for that. It's a little bit ridiculous. The maps are not particularly engaging. Again, it misses the point of Breath of the Wild. This game was never supposed to be. This is the fucking alarm. This is the klaxon I was blaring since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But playing it, it's very clear that this is a skin. And I think some of the things they did, like with that Hyrule map, take away from the streamlined things that you had in the original Hyrule Warriors for upgrading your characters and unlocking new things, which made that game feel way more straightforward. The way that the game is presented here is trying to obfuscate mechanics in service of this idea that this is a Breath of the Wild game when it's not. This is not a
Mm-hmm.
Zelda game. At the same time, it sold 3 million copies in what, less than a week?
Yeah,
So
I think the first 3 days.
okay, so it worked.
Yeah.
Um, but when you're actually playing it, I do think that this is an enjoyable game.
Yeah.
I think that the original Hyrule Warriors is a lot better than it. I think that it has a much stronger identity about celebrating Zelda's history, and I think that inherently makes its combat more interesting because you're fucking playing as Tingle and you're playing as the King of Red Lions and you're playing as all of these ridiculous characters, and there's a spectacle to that I don't think this game always captures.
Mm.
But in the moment to moment, the story is engaging, even though it's not what we wanted it to be. Seeing the interactions between the champions and between Zelda and Link and all these characters are interesting. They make me wish it was in the context of a different storyline. And the gameplay is still satisfying. Playing as the champions is genuinely really cool. They all have unique play styles. This game does a better job differentiating characters than the other Hyrule Warriors game did, which is to its benefit. You
Mm-hmm.
have more powers, you have special moves that you can chain together in different ways. You've got interesting follow-up attacks, like fucking Rivali can actually fly above the level, giving you 2 different combo trees. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. And when you're taking down a Hinox, when you're taking down a Stalnox, when you're fighting at various bosses, when you're wiping out hordes of enemies, there is empowering gameplay here. And when you get deeper into the game, the way that they blended the runes and the rods into the gameplay is really interesting, and gives you another sense of awareness on the battlefield of, oh shit, here's a moblin, he's charged me, let's quickly cry on it, so he runs into my block, open up his weak point gauge, knock him out, get the spectacle. So there are interesting elements here. And they are interesting enough to pull me through the game, but I find myself going a battle at a time as I work my way through because I want to see where it ends, and I want to see if, in a vacuum, this story is compelling.
Sure.
Um, and on the whole, I think that it's a game that I've been warming up to with each battle. I see its merits more. I think getting to play something like Hestu is unlocking the magic of the original Hyrule Warriors
Yeah.
again in terms of expanding the Zelda experience. So I do think that there is a good game here. It's just not the game I wanted, and I don't think it's the game that stands up to, I think, the refreshing surprise that was the first Hyrule Warriors. Um, but like I said, every time I've tweeted about this game, I've gotten marginally more positive. I'm slowly cranking up the temperature on my enjoyment with the game. So I hope that persists. I feel like the mission design is getting more interesting as I get deeper into the game,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels like the plot is finally having a little bit of forward momentum. And just as a Zelda fan, there's something interesting about seeing these connections we've wanted to see between characters. So
Yeah.
I'm mixed on the game. In short, I'm mixed in a positive direction, but I can't help but see the missed opportunity, and I can't help but see that this is not the game we thought we were going to be getting. But I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I don't even think it's mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've beaten the game and I've had time to ruminate on it, I'll place it in Nintendo's pantheon of 2020 games. But it's not the slam dunk that I thought it might be.
Sure.
And I think that the review average of, I think, a 79 is about spot on. I think that GameSpot 6 is more accurate than someone's 9. There are a bunch of 9s. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. But we'll see as I play more.
Yeah. I mean, good comment. I will be picking it up eventually as a game that I want to play. I'm not familiar with the Muso formula, but this is it clearly fucking worked. People goddamn want to play this game a lot. It's the most highest selling Muso game already.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how this game settles. I think there's a possibility of DLC eventually, just because the first one got a solid amount of it.
A
Um,
lot
and,
of it.
yeah, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this game sits in the Switch's history, because it was clearly a moment, but I think, at least from my perspective, not having played the game, the moment's kind of already fading. As people just have gotten the game and are playing it, and the uh, mystery and that the game had around it is fading as people get their hands on it. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. I do think that there's a certain possibility that you enjoy it as more as you go, and the overall
Yeah.
experience ends up being quite favorable. But I mean, I think those criticisms are totally valid. I think that the frame rate issues are, if you really care or not, how much it impacts your enjoyment of it. And the map thing, that's the part that I was expecting the most out of this being not, excuse me, not a Zelda game, but a Muso game. Did you just fucking kiss at me? What the shit was that?
Do you remember? Have you seen The
Yes.
Office?
No. Or yes, I have. What?
Do you remember the part when they trained Dwight to do shit? Right? He's like, do something, hold out your hand, you get a candy or something. Do you remember that?
Sure.
Oh my god, I've never been as embarrassed as I am right now. So let's have a fucking backstory for a moment. So my girlfriend hiccups a lot. Whenever she hiccups, I kiss her. And when we're on Zoom or Skype, because she's on the other side of the country right now, whenever she hiccups, I blow her a kiss. I slept so poorly last night. I'm operating I'm sweating. I'm operating at a fraction of battery. I heard a hiccup. I blew a kiss. It's fucking flater.
Yeah, something like that.
Doesn't
Anyway, Zelda
doesn't
and
help
video
the
games.
narrative amongst certain parts of our audience.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this pans out. Oh Lord.
Play Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. I think you'd have a better experience there.
Yeah, I'll pick that up eventually. I mean, it's certainly a game I've been looking for, but it's pretty low in terms of my overall order of playing things, because there's a lot of games that I want to be playing. I'm taking with me from the wonderful house that I have here back to the motherland, Texas, Austin, Texas. I'm taking my Switch, I'm taking my PS4, my 3DS, and my Super Nintendo Mini, and I have all my retro consoles there, which some of which I actually want to play. When I don't, since I won't have access to PC or PS5, I'm going to be sort of stuck in older experiences, and it might be fun to just bounce around those things, because I've been certainly respecting older games a lot more these past few months since I've moved here, and I've been a lot of what are considered the classics. Card in the corner to our Super Mario World review, card in the corner to our Super Mario Bros. 3 review, card in the corner to our Link to the Past review. I've been
the corner to our Miles Morales review.
One of the classics, yes, of course. But I do think that there's a lot of those games that I'll be checking out that I own on PS1, PS2, Super Nintendo, NES. Like, I've got all sorts of stuff at home that I didn't have access to here. So I think that'll be pretty fun. Any other things you want to say? Are we done here? We got to wrap it up.
Here's what I'd like to say.
Okay. You've had a fucking grin on your face the entire time I was talking. What do you want to say?
Hope the audience has a great day.
Yeah?
I hope they like this video and subscribe.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I hope that they find happiness, and I hope that they find fulfillment.
Wow. This is scarily wholesome. I don't know how this is making me feel.
And I hope that one audience member wins the lottery at some point in their life.
Gets the golden fucking ticket and goes to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. All right. Well, on that strangely and uncharacteristically positive note, we will see you guys next week for another episode of BLB. We've also got other shows. Go check out Quest of the Bestest, our review series of Oscar Best Picture winners. Go check out BLBS, our off-the-cuff random crap podcast. Last week we talked about our, Jesus Christ, fucking 3 days ago, some shit like that. We talked about the Game Awards nominees, which I think interests this audience a little bit more, as well as showed what this house that I moved into actually looks like. But we've got plenty of content on the way, not featuring Abram at some point, which will be exciting. But and finally, you know what I'm saying? But see you guys in other videos. Bye.
Goodbye.
Okay, all right. We're gonna
It-
hold on, we're gonna energize.